What is going on? Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. We are off and running in typical Shorty style. I realised I have work in the morning and forgot to put my clothes in the wash, so that's why I'm a minute late. My apologies. I just darted off to the washing machine and threw them in there, so we should be good to go for tomorrow. Now, that league code, I'm going to reward the people who are on bright and early, so 208702. Brad, what's going on, mate? We'll get to it, Brad. Get to it. I want you to get in there, son. Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you? I love you too, mate. I appreciate the feedback. Jono, good to have you on board, mate. I hope everyone got the league code just then. If you didn't, I'll read it out again for those who might have just joined. It's my last one, and it's 208702. So I'm hoping everyone gets in there all right. 208702. So hopefully you got in there. Now, if you just bear with me, guys, I am going to put this out to the folks at SuperCoach 360 just to let them know that I'm going live. Most of them probably know, but here we go. Hey, guys, feel free to jump on and fire a few. Hey guys, feel free to jump on. Why does that come up like that? Technology, holy shit, we have a lot of questions already. I am going to hope that my good mate Ben does that for me. Give me one moment. Just try and get this reach going. Cool, let's do it. So the code for those who haven't got it already is, let me just get back onto it, 208702. And for some reason in my other league, it looks as if someone's left. So 733578 is also, there's just one spot. There's just one spot. 733578. So let's get stuck into it anyway. I'm going to go through a few questions and yeah, we'll just see how we go. Been a pretty cruisy day for Shorty, so yeah. Hey B, thank you very much. I've been good, mate. Appreciate your support. Jono, I'm going well, mate. Hope you're well. William, what's going on, mate? Damon Graves, what's he rolling at? What sort of price? He's not exactly a guy that springs to my mind that I'd be taking on board. No, I'd pass on him, mate. At that sort of price, just don't see the need to do it. So I wouldn't be going near him. Brad or Brady, sorry, I've been calling you Brad. Sorry, mate. I'm glad you got in. Dugowie, thanks, mate. Watto, good man. Dugowie, yeah, let's talk Hunter Clark. He's a super interesting one. As I just get a little bit comfy, Yeah, I'd be half tempted, to be honest. He's a guy that I've been a big fan of for ages. And look, he can play. We know that. He's been playing as a defender for much of his career, but I think he's born to be a midfielder. So I think if he gets that opportunity, which the Pracky game the other day looked as if he would, then yeah, I'm a big fan. You don't really have to convince me about Hunter Clark. The only thing I would say is that we've got a lot of premiums that we can rely on in the back line. So it's maybe not the place you need to take that sort of a punt, but I think he's a gun in the making. Hey, X-Fry, what's going on, mate? Spooky Mookie, what a name. What's going on, mate? Len. Yes, great, he's in. Good stuff. Beauty, Will, good to have you on board, mate. AFL Amusement. Bonjour, Shorty. We'll be watching the mighty Storm, so can't tune in a lot. Yes, of course, the Storm start. I'm not a huge rugby guy, but I respect that. If you're a Victorian, you got to love the Storm. So, yeah, enjoy that, mate. I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. Sam Cullen, league code. I hope you got in. If you missed it, I had, well, let's see. Are they all full? Don't know. Maybe that's not refreshed. Anyway, if anyone wants to give it a whirl and try to get in, I've got one spot. It's telling me there's... Oh, no, that's full. That's full. Yep. Sorry, they're full. If you want to get into a Shorty SuperCoach group, I know it's not quite the same, but I've got that linked up to all the other league code reveals that I did. Gee, it's just, my hair's just not happening today. It is not happening. Carly, what's going on? How are you? Hugo, thoughts on CJ? Yeah, look, he's a bit of a tempter, isn't he? I think he's personally not one I would be going for. I know he's priced okay, but there's probably, if I just look at some prices, he's pretty similar to the likes of, I can't spell his name, can I? He's pretty similar to Hayden Young and Jordan Clark, isn't he, from memory? So I probably prefer those guys. But, gee, he looks like he's got an intercepting role. He looks like he can, takes the game on. So not the worst, but he's not for me. And just with the questions, I'm just gonna go for it. We'll just see. I'm sure we'll get quite a few. We'll just see how we go. So I'll answer as many as I can. I'm just going to work from the way down, from the top down, and then we'll see how we go. So get in as quick as you can, and I'll do my best to be a bit punchier than last time. So see how we go. Ted, how are you, mate? What are your thoughts on Hunter Clark? Well, I just mentioned him before, so hopefully you got that. I'm a fan. Bit more risk than some other defenders we've got on offer, but I definitely would consider him. If you've got a sense that he's got that midfield role, I'd be jumping on board. White Shadow. Yes, that did go fast. The 9, how you going, mate? Napple says, Neil, yes or no? Well, I think, yeah, he's a yes. I mean, I think if you can afford him, which I think you should be making him a priority. So, yeah, he's an insane ball winner. So there's no reason to not have him. Yeah, he's pricey, but he's worth it. So he showed what he can do. Yeah, he had a scratchy preseason, but gee, he looked good, particularly in the second half when Brisbane got rolling. So in the Pracky game, so I'd be on board. Mashed potatoes. He's in. Good stuff. How are you, Corey? Good to have you on board. Corey's back. I remember him from last time. What do you think, D1? Oh, we're rolling the team. What do we got? In the back line, he's got Lloyd, Daniel, Stewart, Short, CJ, Highmore, Kaczynski, and Fife. Yeah, look, I think that's pretty good. I don't think Fife's going to get games. The only thing I would shore up in that would be, I like the fact you've got 4 premiums. The only thing I'd probably shore up is maybe attending to Fife and getting a rookie that's probably going to play, because I doubt he will. But we can wait for the teams on that one. Baz Gaming, Bont or McRae or Dunkley? Well, look, let's deal with Bont and Pally and McRae because they're both in the midfielders. I guess Dunkley is sort of a different discussion because he's available as a forward. I personally am happy to wait and see on Dunkley. Treloar's coming back. That'll change the dynamic. Luke Beveridge, can sometimes just roll out of bed one morning and just think he's going to roll with this sort of setup in the midfield. It can change any day at any moment. And Dunkley is often the guy that gets moved to a flank or, so that concerns me. So I'm happy to wait and see. I wouldn't rush at getting Dunkley in. In terms of Bontempelli and McRae, well, you're probably going to win on both fronts. Me personally, I'm not picking Bulldogs in the midfield this year. I think there's just too much happening in there. I'm quite happy to upgrade once I sort of see what's going on and what their preferred mix is. But if you're that way inclined, it's pretty hard to go wrong. They've been stars for a long time. I would preference McRae, but Bontempelli was insane the other day, wasn't he? Jono, good to see you on board, mate. He's a long-time fan. I can help answer questions if you want, Shorty. Feel free to chime in there if you want, mate. But I'd love to hear a question from you. Mashed Potatoes is back. Shorty putting the curse on Rayner. Yeah, I know. That hurt. I've never really been so dejected about an opposition player going down with an ACL. You feel it with one of your own team goes down, being a Geelong supporter, but it probably was a bit that I was really riding the wave with him, having him on my side, backing him in for a big year, and one of my best mates, Watto, he's a big Lions man, and yeah, it was bloody tough seeing a young fella like that go down. It was really disappointing because he seemed on the cusp, didn't he? Everything pointed to a great year. Let's get to Gus. Ollie Wines thoughts. Nah, it's a no from me. I just don't think he's ever shown that upside. He's a quality player and he's perfect for a second or third round selection in your SuperCoach draft, if you don't mind that. But look, he's never really shown the ceiling, and I just don't think he's a guy that we should invest that sort of money in personally. Simply Cricket, sorry, mate, the code is run and done. Jump on board to some of my previous league code reveals. I put on a SuperCoach group for Shorty, so you can join that. I know it's not quite the same, but it's just the best we can sort of do. I mean, it's tough. I sort of only have 5 leagues available once you're in a few with your mates and other things like that. So we do our best. Ben Wilson, hey, Shorty, are you doing SuperCoach NRL as well, or just stick with the footy? I have no idea about rugby, mate. So the only thought I have of doing that would be some form of experiment to see how much you can gain from social media and all the media that we have on SuperCoach, and just see how well you can do by purely being a nuffy, because I reckon there is so much social media out there that, gee, to pick a starting squad, there's so much news about it. But no, I'm not doing NRL SuperCoach, mainly because I've just got no idea about it. Spooky Mookie, LDU as a pod. I don't mind it. Let me suss his price. I feel like he's around, $460, something like that. $430. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a spot in your midfield for either a Taranto or a Green or a Davies Uniacke, or if you're my way inclined, a Simpkin, who's a little bit more expensive. But he looks the goods. If you want to roll the dice on someone in the midfield, he's a pretty decent option. Watto 51, Williams or Short. I'm personally going Williams. Now, I know he misses the first game, but I'm sure a few of you would have seen my reasoning as to why I'm sticking with Zach Williams. I just think he's super cheap. If you don't go with him, I think you'll need him at some point. And if you don't start with him, then you're going to be paying definitely over $500K. So if you're prepared to do that, then go for your life. I don't think round 1 is the be all and end all. And I'm not all in on Jaden Short. Basher Hooley wasn't there. I know he had a great year last year, but I was looking into some stats and I'll do a video on it. I'm just not sure. I'm not saying he's not going to have a good year, but I probably preference quite a few other defenders ahead of him. So I don't feel the need to start him. And I just feel like he's a guy that, if a club puts any homework into him, he can be shut down. Sorry, Aussie, mate. Aussie Funny Farm. The code's done and dusted. Sorry, mate. Brandon Clark, Tim Taranto or Tom Green to start with? Well, evidence would suggest Tom Green because that's how my side is looking at the moment. Probably depends if you want to save 100K, how you want to go about it. Who do I think's going to average more? Probably Taranto just. But if you wanted me to guess some sort of range at what they're going to average, I'd probably have them just about on par. I feel like both of them could average anywhere from 100 to 107, 108, best case scenario. Therefore, I'm happy to take Green because I don't see an enormous difference in their scoring. The only thing you might say, I think Green's going to be a better player long term. I think he's better around the stoppage, only just. Taranto's bloody good. Giants have had a temptation to roll Taranto forward at times. Green will only play inside mid, but Taranto's done it before. He's averaged 100 before. Green never has. So there's a bit both ways, but clearly I've gone Tommy Green. Baz Gaming, Bont, McRae or Dunkley. Oh, that's a popular one. I'm not sure if that was you put that up before, but just to wrap it up quickly, Dunkley I'm not interested in. I'm happy to upgrade to. And if you want one of the two mids, then I'd probably preference McRae but they're both great options. The 9, good to have you on board, mate. Let me just check. Just want to check something. See if me message got through. Don't know. Hopefully we're on SuperCoach 360. Hopefully we've got a few of you guys tuning in. Hopefully we've got a few from SuperCoach Talk, and that'd be awesome. Corey, do we have to start Lloyd? No, definitely don't. I mean, I personally wouldn't. I wasn't going to initially, and I'm certainly not going to after what's been a scratchy week or so for him. Was it a knee? I think he tweaked the knee, kept him out of the pracky game, and I wouldn't be rushing for him. I think last year's average, is fantastic, but we've got some awesome options down back. I don't feel the need to just burst the bank on him, particularly with a little bit of an injury. Jesso, hey Shorty, is Jay Clark going to play more wing or half back? I think he'll play wing until Duncan comes in, and Duncan's definitely missing round 1. We know that much. And once Duncan returns, I dare say he might slightly move to a half-back flank. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be opposed to having Duncan off a half-back flank either, but point being, he's going to be in a position that's going to score well. Now, I'm a massive rat for Jordan Clark. I think he belongs in the best 22. We need his pace. We need his dash. He's a youthful player. We need that. So whether it's wing or half-back, we're going to see some decent scores from the young man at that price. Kyrie White, watching the Storm and listening to Shorty. Good combo, eh? Nice one. Thanks, mate. Thanks, Baz. Hopefully you got your answer to that one before. Power Hut, keep up the good work, Shorty. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. I love your support, mate. Good stuff. Jarks, what's going on? Hey, Shorty, is 3 rookies in the midfield too many? Also, have you always spoken in the third person? Third person referencing is nothing new to Shorty. I have been known to do it. I started a job a few months back and just rolled the early third person talk into the conversation. It just gets the people going. But I ended up leaving that job, so maybe I should ditch it. But 3 rookies in the midfield. I presume you mean 3 rookies on the field. Nah, it's not a disaster. It really depends who they are. If those rookies are Braden Campbell, Tom Powell, and, take your pick, then, that's all good. If you're cutting it fine and you've got Eli Smith or Connor Downey or Tyler Brockman, then I'm thinking, okay, you're a little bit exposed. But, no, you can have 3 rookies on the field. Just make sure they're quality, some of the better ones. How are you, Jono? As a Saints man, I can see Hunter Clark averaging 95, so he's on board. He is on board. And he's a big Saints man, Jono, so that's good. Ben Baker, I have 5 primo defenders and a rookie down back. Then I have the big 4 in the middle, as well as 4 rookies, including Powell. Up forward, I have Dunkley, Zeeble, Dow, Impey, Campbell, and Bergman. Thoughts? I'd probably, you've got the 5 premiums in the back line. I'd probably ditch one of them and move them into the midfield. I think I like to have at least 5 primos in the middle. I like what you're doing in the forward line, even though I'm not a Dunkley fan. I'd probably go a Dangerfield or Martin, but that's up to you. And maybe if you get Impey up to Danaher, maybe I would do that. But one thing I definitely would do, I think 5 premiums in the back line is maybe just a little bit heavy, particularly when we've got Hayden Young, Jordan Clark. Harms is not the worst option. So I'd maybe transfer one of those premiums and turn them into a midfield premium if you can. Nathan, thanks for jumping on, mate. I just joined this to watch your rage over Jordan Clark's preseason. I can give you rage, mate, and Langers will attest to this. I was away at Wye River just sipping pina coladas, thinking, how good is life? This is great. Shorty's having a wonderful time. And I actually wasn't watching the game closely and checking the stats. He's had 12, he's had 16, he's had 22. And I'm thinking, just don't be the headline. Just don't be the headline, mate. Just have a good game. And what is he? He's the bloody headline, isn't he? He's dominating. And then he kicked the goal, and I was like, fucking hell, mate. What are you doing? Now every prick knows about him. I wish you could get a few extra points for jumping on board early, but that's not how it works. And I guess over the journey, I've probably jumped on board a few too. But, yeah, it rattled me. It did rattle me for a bit. Yeah, I remember his ownership was like 10%, and then I looked like the next day or so, it's up to 24, and I haven't brought myself to look at it since. Just hurts. I thought I had a point of difference, but B, why the change of heart on Mills? I really like that pick. If he's named, is he still okay to have him in the team? Well, why did I pick him? Why did I ditch him? Concussion, basically, as simple as that. I mean, I was as pissed off as anybody. I jumped onto my team and saw the little red symbol with an injury. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? And then I looked up and he's copped a head knock. I didn't even know that happened. Delayed concussion symptoms. So for me, that's a no, particularly with such a unique pick. You don't want to go wrong on a point of difference pick, or it'll burn you and not too many of your opposition. So that is why. And when Caleb Daniels just sitting there, one of my old faves, it's just hard to not make the change. I still think Mills is a guy I'll get into the side at some point, but you just don't know how players perform after being, copping a head knock. So that is why. Trying to be a little conservative. White Shadow, Shea Bolton. Yeah, he's a good option. If you're that way inclined, I'm personally not, but I think there are a few people who are rolling a Butters or a Bolton, and yeah, they're a good chance to move their average into the 90s. In fact, if I was a betting man, which on Saturdays I definitely am, I would be betting that his average will definitely move into the 90s. Where you make your money will be whether that's 97 or 91, basically. You might have even higher hopes, but I think it's a solid option. Brady just says off Bond. No, definitely not off him. I'm choosing to probably steer clear of Doggy's mids, just because there's a lot going on in that midfield. I'd just rather sort of steer clear. Billy, best Mills replacement. Well, definitely Caleb Daniel. I think that was clear. And again, another bloke I'm slightly pissed off, played so well. What's Tommy Stewart at? 538. You could do a hell of a lot worse than him. He is as consistent as the day is long. Definitely either one of those guys. But, there's a lot of fellas out there that are good options down back, and I think Daniel and Stewart are certainly two of those. Jared Cadd. Hey, Shorty. Caddy here. Thoughts on Butters? Caddy's one of my absolute ripping supporters. Been around for a long time, so I appreciate you jumping on, mate, and asking a question. I'm like I sort of mentioned with Bolton before, I think Butters is every chance to increase that average. I'm not in love with him as a selection, mainly because Port Adelaide's midfield is super strong, and I don't know. I guess it's just my structure. You guys probably saw I'm rolling Caldwell at F3, and I love the fact that he's a pure mid option. I think same with Butters, same with Bolton. They will increase their work. I just have gone for other options. So I understand the hype. I probably would prefer Bolton over Butters, but only just. So, yeah, they're honestly not – they're two guys I haven't really ever heavily considered. but it's not to say I dislike them as an option. They're very talented players. Pepe, thoughts on Matt Rowell? I think he's the biggest trap in the game right now. That's my thoughts on him. I wouldn't touch him with a 9-inch pole, and there's not too many things I have that are 9 inches, and, I wouldn't be going anywhere near him. So Matty Rowell has had an underdone pre-season. He's just a young man. I mean, I love him. I reckon he's amazing. He won so many contested possessions on the weekend, but I just think for that price tag, there's a hell of a lot of pressure on him, a lot of expectation. A lot of opposition people will be looking much closer into him this year. So for me, I'd be steering well clear. I've personally opted for Simpkin. I'd say you'd be a safer bet with Taranto, just given the pre-seasons. Ross, best top 3 rookies. Look, I think Braden Campbell is the man. I think he's a fantastic option. Tom Powell, you'd have to have in there as well. And Miles Bergman, is that the correct? Pretty sure his first name is Miles, but he would be my guy as well. I need to check that now. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, Miles Bergman. And, they would be my top 3. Yeah, for sure. Bondi, I hope you're enjoying your dinner. I can hear you, boy. What else have we got? Raw Rod, Briggs and Cox for the forward defender coverage. Thoughts? I mean, if you're that way inclined, I guess. I mean, I probably don't pick my side looking for a direct swap like that, but if that gives you a little bit more comfort, then yeah, that's fair enough. I like Briggs if he's selected. I think he's a great option as a ruckman. Cox, probably not so much. I certainly wouldn't have him in the forward line. We're a bit light on for rookies in the back line, so I can understand you thinking there, but I think he's such a tall, raw option. Yeah, he's playing on a wing, not too bad. But I definitely wouldn't look at Cox as being a lock, but that does give you good coverage. Napple, do you need one of Cripps or Rowell? Well, I think you definitely need one of them, and I think it's definitely Cripps. I wouldn't get too worried about what happened the other day. I mean, Mackay went down, and he played a little bit more forward, Cripper did, and look, there's practice matches that mean certain things to certain players, and Cripper's he's rolling the legs over, mate. Wait for the real stuff. That's when he'll fire. So I wouldn't lose any confidence. In him there. White Shadow, Steele, McRae, Merritt, or Oliver? Who goes? Of those, that's a tough one. It's definitely not McRae or Oliver. And then maybe you can work it out between Steele and Merritt on maybe you need a little bit more coin, but I would probably drop Merritt out of those 4, I think. Finn Keys, thoughts on Hunter Clark? Yeah, I touched on him a bit early. He seems to be a pretty popular one. I think if you want to take a bit of a punt in the back line, he's a pretty good one. He's destined for some midfield time at some point, and I think he's going to be a midfield star. So if you want a bit of a punt in the back line, he's not a bad one. Glenn Morgan, are you going to be doing a video on who you think the biggest traps are this season? If not, please give us a couple of names now. Yeah, I definitely will. That's something I love doing. The must-haves and the SuperCoach traps coming up to the year for sure. Definitely, I do think it's not to knock Matty Rowell because he's such a popular, exciting player, but I do think in SuperCoach terms he's a trap. I haven't looked super close into too many others, but that is definitely a video I'm going to do, mate. So thanks for that. Hamish Masters, how many primos are you starting with? I think it's 10 or 11. Let me count it up. So right now we've got Led, Daniel, Williams, Neil, Oliver, Kelly, Cripps, Grundy, Dangerfield, Martin. So I've got 10, but I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? I've also got Simpkin, who I think can be a premium. And I've got Caldwell and Draper, Draper's not going to be a keeper, but I think they can give me, some really good points each week. So I'd like to think I've got 11.5, if that makes any sense. Thanks for the question, mate. Stuart SuperCoach. I was watching one of your videos the other day, mate. It's good to see some other people getting involved. You're putting in Clark now, lol. If you mean Hunter, no, I'm not putting him in. If you mean Jordan, I've had him a long time, my friend. I've had him a long time. But Hunter Clark won't sway me to put him in, but I am a fan of what he does. Bob Rob, Shorty, what are your thoughts on Nick Kerr? Mate, I have no idea who that is. I have got no idea. What have I done? What have I done here? I've scrolled too far. Bob, you might have to clarify. Yeah, I didn't think I recognised the name, but after Sam Berry last week, I thought I better check. So just, maybe send that one through again. Luke, are you certain on Josh Kelly? Thanks for the question, mate, and thanks to everyone who's joined in so far. Again, we've got some great feedback already, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I am. I'm a massive fan. He's a Rolls Royce for a reason. Yeah, slightly concerned, in the fact that there is, a lot of Giants midfielders, but he doesn't need a high centre bounce attendance to score well. So if that's your concern, which is natural to have, I think last year he averaged about 46% of centre bounce attendances. So he's always a smooth mover around the stoppage around the ground and just runs the lines really well. So he doesn't need to be in the stoppage all the time. But no, I'm big fan. I've got a bit of coin on him for the Brownlow, to be honest. Baz, again, thanks, mate. Thoughts on Nick Cox? Well, hopefully you heard my thoughts before. I'm not in love with the selection, but, he's playing. We don't have too many options down back, so I understand that. I don't think he's going to score amazing. I still think he's a pretty raw product, but he's certainly, if we don't get too much love down back from rookies, then, that is understandable for sure. Not in my team at the minute. Langus. Yeah, Langus is a massive fan of Paul Hunter. Reckons he's got the ability to get up to 450k, Riley O'Brien style. So that would be something. And, he's going to get the chance, isn't he? How'd netball go, Langus? Corey's back. What do you think of Webster as a massive defender, POD? Nah, not for me, mate. I know he's had, back a while back, I remember, was it SuperCoach Page? Just he was one of the rage players for the pre-season, and I think he let us down. He's done it well at times, but no, I wouldn't feel the need to go near him. Matthew Heath, thoughts on Grundy, Gawn, Stephen Martin, and Draper? Yeah, well, it's, clearly my setup is Grundy and Draper. I'm a massive fan of what Draper can do. I think he's got huge upside. He's going to be the main man for the Bombers. Steph Martin doesn't excite me too much. Sharing it with English, I think he's in the twilight of his career. So I'd put a line through him personally. So then it pretty much comes down to your structure. Do you want Gawn and Grundy, set and forget style, or do you want to take a risk and free up some coin elsewhere? I think Draper's about as good a stepping stone as an R2 that we've had, for a long time. Often the R2 is filled with a ruckman that's maybe coming back from injury and is a little unders, but Draper is a genuine premium option in the future. I hope he can get close to that 95 mark this year. So that's the way I'm rolling, but it really comes down to your structure, mate. Ari, thanks for jumping on board. Thoughts on Ridley? Will be averaging 100 plus. I don't feel the need to go near Ridley. He was obviously really good last year. He's only done it once, as we know, and it's not so much to say I don't rate him, but probably to just say I rate others higher. We've been blessed with a stack of great options down back, so I personally think there's probably just a few guys I have higher on the pecking order, so I don't feel the need to start with him. Gil, thanks, Gil, mate. You're a good man. Cunnington at 440k. Nah, I wouldn't go near him, to be honest. I wasn't a big fan prior to his concussion issues, or at least the most recent ones, and the fact that he's had a poor pre-season, those concerns over his body and that type of thing, I think we can just let that one go through the keeper, I reckon. Craig, one of my all-timers, good stuff, mate. Hi, Shorty, you're on fire, mate. I still can't get into a league. Oh, man, really? Jesus. That is disappointing. Yeah, well, it's not much I can do for you. Sorry, mate. You're one of my absolute big-time supporters. Jump into the group and look, we'll see what we can do, mate. And thoughts on Aaliyah and the Saints Sinclair. Neither guy I would select. Aaliyah, I just don't think has that scoring ability. I think he'll have days where he just intercepts everything and shows some amazing signs, but consistency's just never been something that he's been able to deliver. And Sinclair, I would entertain slightly more. I like his role as a defender now, but I don't know. I just don't think we need to select him. I think they could be handy draft selections. Might catch your mates off guard, but not for me. I don't think. We just roll down onto White Shadow. Jordan Clark or Hayden Young? That's tough. That is real tough, mate. I mean, I personally reckon there's no reason you shouldn't have both. If I had to select one, I would probably go with Hayden Young. Just because Jordan Clark, for some reason, the Cats coaching staff have given him some tough love. Whether that continues, whether there's a bit more pressure on his spot in the side, perhaps. I think Young has a more defined role. He's slightly more expensive, but honestly, I'm splitting hairs. I'm really splitting hairs here. So I think definitely have both. Maybe Clark's in the midfield, maybe Young's down back, but I definitely reckon both can be on your side. Jono, give us a little score update. Storm are up 10-0. Good. That's what we like. Teddy, whoops, I'm right-clicking there. Thoughts on CJ at 266? Yeah, well, I guess he's probably been one that's come into the conversation late, hasn't he? Well, I just was talking about Hayden Young and Jordan Clark, and probably off the back of that, I'd have to say no on CJ, just because I think we've got two far better options north and south of CJ there. So I think he'll be a bloke who improves, showed some fantastic signs in the Pracky game. If you're looking at mid-price, sort of lower end, fair to say, lower end mid-prices in the back line, you're probably looking at Young, Clark, and, throw in CJ there. I'd rank him number 3 out of those. So if that makes it any more clear, then hopefully it does. The 9, why you jump off Mills? Still a big fan. Yeah, I'm a massive fan, but like I mentioned before, concussion, don't like that. I don't like the effect it can have long term, and probably the fact that he was a point of difference pick and I've taken a few risks elsewhere, that was just enough for me to go, look, I'm going to go a bit safer and I'm going to go Caleb Daniel. But I hope I can have him in my team down the track. And we continue the Mills theme from Billy. Replacement for Mills. Have Lloyd, Stewart, Daniel, and Short. And Laird. Laird in the midfield. Yeah, fair enough. We've got all those guys. I mean, look, for me, it's Zach Williams. I mean, I still think, cop the donut week 1. I think, he'll save you 100K there as well, or about that, and you can spend that elsewhere. Luke Ryan might be a guy that you look at, but, probably that'd be my 2 options off the top of my head. Yeah, I think that's a handy little backline you got going there. Finn says Caldwell or Green. Gosh, that's tough. That is tough. 2 of the young guns of the comp, isn't it? Both got incredible upside. Both going to have big roles to play in the midfield. I would probably... Green has a far higher upside. I don't think Caldwell can average 100, put it that way, where I think Green can. But what's in Caldwell's favour is that he's a forward, and we're light on for forwards, you know. So there's probably a better opportunity for Caldwell to be at F3 and be a little bit safer, where Green in the midfield is maybe a little bit more risky. But if I was, had to pick, I would pick Tom Green. But they are both in my side at the minute. James, do we need to start Neil? I think so. Any worry I had was that maybe his pre-season wasn't the greatest of all time, but he showed some good signs in the Pracky game. So I'd be going with Lockie. Spooky Mookie, Shorty, go to KFC order. Look, that is a question I didn't anticipate. I'm a bit of a Nuggets man, to be fair. Just give me some chips, fresh, clearly. I don't want that. You can sometimes go to KFC and you've just got those chips that you just know have been there for a long time. It's not what I'm about. Extra salt, yeah, please, and sweet and sour sauce. That'll do me, thanks. But yeah, I'm not really. If I'm going to burger, I'm probably going somewhere else or something like that. So give me the nuggets. Probably, the go bucket's a bit stingy these days. I miss the snack box. Bring back the snack box, Jesus. And the crushers, they went all right. Brandon Clark, is Dan Houston a good option to get at any stage of the year? Nah, probably not, mate. I think he's the sort of guy that he could have a good year, and wait and see if he's firing on all cylinders, then, we might have a problem and you might have to get him in. But I wouldn't rush to get him. Like I've said on numerous occasions, we have a stack of great defenders this year, and he's probably not on the top end of that. D-Max says, thoughts on Mavio Chol? I can only take that seriously, but no, we can't be selecting him there, mate. Definitely no. White Shadow, George is getting upset. I don't even know what that is about, but I'm sure it'll make sense at some stage of this stream, and I'll read a comment and it'll make sense. Adzi, Tom Phillips over Dusty, and is Taranto a good pick? I would definitely not be picking Phillips over Dusty. I think Martin's in for an amazing year. You've just got to ask me roommate Bondi for that. He's been raving about him, and I'm a big fan of him too. I think he's pretty nicely priced, to be fair. And Phillips, yeah, he was great in the Pracky game, but Tommy Mitchell wasn't there. Yeah, I just haven't been an absolutely massive fan of Phillips, but gee, he tore it up the other day. And yeah, Taranto's a good pick. He's not in my team, but he's a good selection. There's been times when I've just been lying in bed and thinking, gee, how can I get Taranto into my side? It just hasn't come to fruition, but yeah, he's a good option. Corey again, where should I put Braden Campbell, in the midfield or the forward line? Just wait and see what the rookies give us, mate. It'll basically depend on what options we get up and what you think their scoring ability is like. I'd probably at the moment preference the midfield, but it's hard to tell what we'll get when the teams come around and who's actually going to be playing. Ben, hey mate, I had Taranto as my third pick player in my team this year. Thought he'd be a set and forget pod, but after last week he's jumped up 20% of teams. Is he still a pod? Any better options? Well, yeah, you're probably experiencing the same stuff I experienced with Jordan Clark. You're probably sitting there going, oh, gee, he's a bit of point of difference. I've been on him all pre-season. And then he goes bang, and, everybody's jumping on board. So that is where it can get frustrating. But, yeah, just because other people sort of get involved doesn't mean you need to jump off. If you've liked him all pre-season, then you stick with him. Definitely. The 9. Nick Hind, thoughts at 331k. I love this. This is juicy. He could average 90 this year. I was in the shower the other day, and this sounds a bit weird, but I was in the shower and I was thinking about Nick Hind. Take that in the simplest terms, if you will, but that sounded better in my head. But no, I think he can seriously play some great footy off the half-back line. I watched a couple of quarters of the Geelong game, just watched it back after not tuning in super close at the time, and he looked the goods. You know, he's a big risk. Would I start him? Probably not, because a guy like Jai Caldwell is right there. But, yeah, he can definitely see a big improve on his numbers, I reckon. Really SuperCoach friendly role, I reckon. Kyrie, how would you rank Steele, Oliver, McRae, and Petrarca? Yeah, I'd rate them. Oliver on top, then McRae, then Steele, then Petrarca. That one's pretty straightforward for mine. And I think Oliver and McRae are clear top two for mine. Austin, how many premiums should we start with? Thanks for the question, and thanks for everyone who's jumped on board. We're rolling at about 80 people again, so this is good. I reckon I'll be rolling this for a couple of hours. So I appreciate all your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, feel free to do so. I'd love that, and thanks for your support. Austin premiums, yeah. So look, minimum 10, and if you're rolling with a real guns and rookies approach, you might have 12. So definitely don't have less than 10. Probably 11 is your ideal, but it just depends how many risks you want to take and how many, I guess, your optimism in some of your mid prices. Firkin, hey mate, are you taking the buys into consideration when making your team, or just making the best one you can and worrying about it later? What's your thoughts on that? That's a good question, and I take absolutely no consideration of the buys, because you just got no idea what's going to happen. I've never been one to look at the buys and make a decision. If I had a line ball call, yeah, okay, I might split the difference on maybe one guy's buy is a lot more beneficial to my side. But nah, just pick the best team, because you could do all the planning in the world, have the most amazing buy structures in place, and then 3 of your blokes gets injured, another one goes down in round 8, and you're thinking, holy shit, I did all those Excel sheets for nothing. So a lot can change. What I would say is by the time we start upgrading and getting closer to the buys, that's when you really start to look ahead and plan. But at this point, nah, don't worry about it. Freak show. Yeah, what do we got? Scroll down a bit. Are you worried about the Simpkin pick after his performance in the community game? I've had him since day dot, but having doubts. Nah, without seeing that game super close, you know, Kingy was saying he played really well on SEN. I don't. I'm not too concerned. To be fair, if I took him out of my side now, I'd never live it down, because I've pumped him up all pre-season, and, you know, if I just took him out with 6 days to go, I would cop some flack on my credibility. But no, I'm backing him in. Have a contingency plan. Look, if he goes to shit after 2 rounds and Taranto's bumped out 120 and 130, then yeah, I might just pull the trigger and downgrade him. But I'm going to give him a starting spot. I think he's a classy mover, and I think he's in for a big year. It's not always, you know, don't always take the, you know, it's one game. It's one pracky game. So I don't reckon we need to make enormous calls off the back of one game. Jacques is back. Cool, mate. Yeah, I've gone for Powell, Campbell, and Downey. Cool. Nice, mate. That's good. Thanks for your questions. Ninja, hey, Shorty, this may sound a bit crazy, but if Josh Jenkins plays round 1 and if Stanley isn't playing, would he be a good option if he goes solo ruck and if he needs a rest and goes forward? Well, he won't be going solo ruck because I believe Stanley is good to go, but even if he's not, no, I wouldn't go with him. Even if I was in the Geelong coaching staff, I'd be playing Sam DeConning as well. I mean, Jenkins is a dead end. Head over to SEN Harness, mate, and get your radio career going again, because I think it's still going, to be fair, but I'd focus on the radio because his days at AFL level are done, in my opinion, but he's too slow. There's some of my Geelong passion coming out. Play the youth, for God's sake. Play Sam DeConning. Sam Ray, thoughts on Fullerton as a pick, Shorty? Yeah, I like it. The thing I probably like most is that Dan McStay's out for a little bit of time, which means, clearly he is going to get some opportunity, job security. Could be anything with the scoring. Looks pretty good below his knees for a big fella, but he's the sort of guy who could score 42 one week and maybe he can eke out an 87, you know what I mean? But Job security is crucial, so I don't mind that. Just going to... What are you calling me for, Watson? Oh, yeah, true. Let me just reply to me good mate Watson here. I've missed his call. Cool. What'd you say, mate? Oh, I'm copping it from the lounge room. Jesus, where was I? Bob Rob. Hey, Shorty. Hope all is well. Just here to let you know Clark is in. As soon as I said that I hadn't looked since, I knew some bastard would tell me. Thanks, mate. Thanks. That's flattened me. But I thought as much. I knew it'd be more than 24 last time I checked it. Jesus. Xavier, keep up the good work, Shorty. Finally got onto one of your leagues. Oh, good. I'm pleased about that because I know I often hear that people miss out and stuff like that. So it's good to hear that you got in. I look forward to seeing how you're going throughout the year. Jono, with another around the ground score update. Storm look like they're spanking them 16-0. Thanks, mate. Glenn's also just giving me the heads up on the ownership, which tells me about how far behind I am too on these questions. So I reckon I'm bloody way back. But if you want to ask a question, feel free. Clearly, I reckon I'll go through maybe like 10 o'clock or something like that. We'll just see how we go. But no guarantees I'm going to get to everything. I try to answer these questions, given what they deserve. I'm not going to try and rush through them, but given that, you know, it's tough to get everybody. So, Travis, will Hunter Clark go 95 to 100 this year? Oh, I definitely think he'll average in the 90s, and it all comes down to his position. You know, if he is getting deployed in the midfield, then yeah, high 90s is definitely possible. So yeah, absolutely. I think he's definitely a chance to go in that range. He's not a bloke that I've picked, but I can see the merit behind it. Jack Watson, how are you, mate? Hey, Shorty, hope all is well. Just here to let you know Clark is in 30%. Thank you, Jack, as he masquerades as a normal YouTuber, taking the absolute piss out of me. He's one of my best mates, Jack Watson, there, and he's just chucking the knife further. But, yeah, did you reply to me text though, mate? No, you did. Holy shit. Yikes. Yeah, okay. And, the Nick Kerr thing has become a little bit clearer as to what that was. So I'm going to steer well clear of that. Don't appreciate those sort of comments getting thrown in. Yeah, swing by and pick me up maybe just after 10. I'll probably wind up around 10, mate. If you're watching, Watson, yeah. Swing by mine about, just after 10 and we'll go for a drive. David Penn. I'm glad that 9-inch comment just tickled someone's fancy. Bondi, Thursday tacos. This does show how far behind I am. I was lipping Bondi about 25 minutes ago. You got a few tacos for me, mate? Just leave them on the kitchen, mate. Unless you cooked them. Otherwise, nah, you wouldn't have cooked. That only happens once a month. Napple, is it fine to have 2 premiums in Dunkley? What's that, Bondi? Bullshit. Bondi informs me he did cook, but I will need evidence of that. If you don't know, I'm probably the cook around here, so bit of a wizard in the kitchen. What was I talking about? Dunkley and Phillips in the forward line, only with Zeeble, Danaher, and Dow. Yeah, look, Dunkley and 2 premiums. Yeah, that's fine with the structure. Dunkley and Phillips aren't guys that I are about for various reasons. Dunkley, the whole doggies opportunity. He seems to be the first that gets shifted out of there. Treloar's coming back, and Phillips, Mitchell coming back. He's never gone beyond 90 in his career, playing wing. I can barely talk. Playing wing, so an outside role in a poor side. So I'm not in love with those selections. It's not to say they won't play good footy, but I don't want to start them. So, yeah, 2 premiums, good structure. Those guys, not my cup of tea, but that's fair enough. What have I done? I've lost me spot. I've lost it. All right, we're back. Napple's back. Would you go for an Impy? Nah, probably not, mate. I think I did a video on the likes of Dow, Danaher, Zeeble, and Impy, and I think they're the 4 guys. Probably doubtful you're all having 4 of them, and I'd rank him number 4. So I don't feel like he's a necessity. Jonathan, would you field Bergman or Fullerton? Definitely Bergman, 100%. Much more Supercoach friendly role and a much more talented player. Jason, will DeGoey and Green get mid-time this year, and are they good picks? I think DeGoey will get a lot of mid-time. I don't think Green will. And I presume with the E on the end, I'm pretty confident that's not a typo, so I'm thinking that's Toby. I feel as if with the Giants lacking quite a bit up in forward and having a lot to work with in the midfield, I think Toby Green is a really good opportunity to kick a lot of goals, but might not do the best for his Supercoach output. So certainly DeGoey, a lot more opportunity at the Pies for some midfield time. Dr. Supercoach, Meek, Flynn, or Hunter for R2. R2. cheeky little selection. I would preference them, Hunter, and then we've just got to wait to see if Flynn gets named. If he's named, then I'd put him number 2. If he's not, then that's pretty obvious. I think Meek, I love him as a player and a future option, but, Darcy's going to come back pretty soon, and I doubt they would play them both. They're both lumbering types of ruckmen. I'd be surprised if they played them both in the one side, but I think Hunter is clearly your option for your backup ruck. Watson's back. Laird is going to burn you this year. You're a fool, Jack. You are a fool, mate. Yeah, he's a funny man. Napple again. You're smashing the questions, mate. I'll answer this one, but I might just try and share the love around. Are you considering moving Williams from your side? No, I'm not. I've probably touched on that already. I'm happy to wear the donut, and I think he's amazing value. If he was priced at $550, then, yeah, I would get rid of him and just trade him in for a Stewart or something like that. But the fact that I think the next time you get a chance to actually bring him in, he'll be well over 500, I'm happy to back that in. Bondi singing the praises of Jaden Short. There's no surprises there. Jack Watson's back. Shorty, you fell for it. Yeah, I got sucked in there, mate. I'm just an innocent bloke, you know me, just a gentleman, just a coastal guy, But yeah, fell for that one. Yes, and a bit of feedback on that one. Yep, fair enough. No, it's fair. You pulled the wool over my eyes, mate. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. Verns, Shorty started the bandwagon for Jordan Clark. Yeah, I'd like to think so, mate. I'd like to think so. I was on him early. Brady's back. Yeah, I think that. Yep. Come on, guys. I'm clearly not that cultured. I needed the Urban Dictionary there, but oh shit. Yeah, Liney the G. Thoughts on Scott Pendlebury? I picked him up as a good pod. Nah, I think Pendle's days of being a Supercoach option are done. He'll forever have good days and that sort of thing, but I just don't think they're going to preference him like they once did. He's in the twilight of his career, and he's the sort of bloke that maybe Bucks wants to have an option at half forward, or maybe he's out of the stoppage because they want Dacos in there, or they want Brad Sire, or a few different guys running through there, or maybe they want him off half back. I think the likes of Taylor Adams and DeGoey and some of those younger fellas that I mentioned are probably the future of Collingwood, and I don't think there's any need to take a risk like that on a guy that's been so good to us over the journey. And Napple has touched on the same thing there, so hopefully that one's answered. Watson just rolling with the one Tiger. Ben, one more league. I'll see what I can do. I might be entered in like a public. You know how they enter you in a public league straight away? I might be in one of those, which I can just leave. I will assess that. And if I do have another league for whatever reason, I'll release it in my next live. Ben Baker, what are your thoughts on Jared Berry? He is on my mind as a big pod. Nah, not for me. I think there's better options as point of difference players. He's a very good player, but I just don't know. I'm not sure he's got the greatest ball use. I just don't think. What's his price? It'd be what, 530 or something? 520. So yeah, it sort of puts him in that category of some guys I mentioned before, like with Raul, Taranto, and Simpkin and the like. I think if you were looking at someone around that price point, then look, I think Taranto is clearly the popular selection, and for me it's Simpkin. But you could do well with both. I probably wouldn't. I think there's better point of difference players. Pendlebury closer to 70. Yeah, he's getting on, Pendles, but he's been good to us, hasn't he? Ben Baker, should Neil, Steele, Oliver, and Merritt all be locks, or should I downgrade one? Oh, Merritt's definitely not a lock. You know, I think I see him just as capable of averaging 106 as 116. You know, Neil and Oliver been doing it for a long time. Steele's done it once, but he looks to be a superstar of the future. If I was downgrading, I'd definitely be doing Zach Merritt for my downgrade. Sam Ray, yep. Got Meek, Flynn, Hunter, or Treaky as R3, I should say. Definitely Hunter. After the news that Ryder is not going to be playing for the foreseeable future, that one's clear. Definitely going to be Hunter for that R3 position. Thoughts on Short, or do you have others higher? I do have others higher. Plays a super friendly role for SuperCoach. I do have slight concerns when Hooley comes back, whether they sort of share those kick-ins and, you know, one day it's Hooley, one day it's Short. I mean, he's going to average at least 90. Don't get me wrong. But, yeah, I'd probably preference Laird in front of him, Lloyd in front of him, Daniel, Stewart, Williams, and a fit Mills. So, you know, that puts him, number 7? You know, so that probably gives you a bit of perspective where I rank him. The 9, Titch, 118 plus. No, definitely not, mate. Hasn't had an ideal pre-season, has he? So I think there's a bit of risk involved with that one. Where are we? Corey's gone Lloyd down to Ryan. A good idea. Yeah, don't mind that. I personally, like I've said before, I don't think Lloyd's a must-have. So I've opted to open up some coin by not going with him, and I'd encourage that. Sam says Jordan Clark or Paddy Dow. For me, it's Jordan Clark. I think he's a fantastic option. I think both are great options. Dow will get more midfield time, but I feel as if his job security is slightly worse than Clark's, but it's hard to say because they both have had some tough love from the coaches over the journey. But I would say Clark, only just. It's a real flip of the coin. I personally don't see any reason why you shouldn't have both. Craig says, thoughts on Tom Stewart? Massive fan. If you want a consistent guy who's just going to get 20 kicks each game, and I literally mean kicks, then he's your guy. Good option. Sam's back, says, give you some insight on Jordan Clark. Well, I mean, he's a star in the making. We picked him up a few years back with our first-round selection, so as a Cats fan, I've been waiting on him for a while. He takes the game on, runs and guns it, can play halfback, can play wing. So he'll be playing a mixture of those depending on the side, and he'll be a good option this year for the Cats and your side. Ben Baker, thoughts on Lloyd, and out of Dow, Impey and Danaher, who would you go? Well, I've touched on Lloyd a little bit. I think he's too pricey, particularly with that tweak of the knee. Definitely too pricey now. And of those ones you mentioned, I would preference definitely Impey third. And you could toss a coin between Dow and Danaher if you need an extra 30K. Dow. God, who's going to... Danaher's got your perfect job security. Dow, you just never know. I think Dow, if he plays 22 games and Danaher plays 22 games, I think Dow actually is going to average more. Just playing a midfield role. There is inconsistencies with key forwards, but I think he can do well with both of them. Best mid under 300K, Sam asks. Under 300K. That's tough. I'm just going off the top of my head, but I don't think there's anyone you really go too much in between the rookies. Braden Campbell at 190 is a great option. And Dom Tyson at 243 probably stands out as well. And, of course, you can go Jordan Clark in the midfield if you wanted. So, hopefully I'm not missing anyone. Yeah, but they're the ones that come to mind. Yeah, you think Butter's a good shout. Yeah, like, if you weren't on earlier, I sort of mentioned him a little bit. He's not in my team. He's not my cup of tea this year, just by the way I've structured my side up. But I think he'll average 90, and we could probably discuss all day about whether he's going to average 92, 96, or 99. So it's really tough. I think there's slightly better options. But, yeah, he's in for improvement this year. We'll get more opportunity, and I definitely understand the selection. It's just the way the cards have fallen for me. Redline Recordings, thoughts on Draper? Yeah, massive fan. Once Bruce went down, he slotted into my second ruck spot, and he hasn't moved. And I really think he has all the attributes to be a premium ruck. Not necessarily this year, but I think we'll pick him in the years to come as a starter. And I'm optimistic he can average at least 90, and I hope for 95. But he strikes me as a perfect stepping stone to a slightly discounted Gawn, which will naturally go down in price no matter what he does. And I'm hopeful. Draper also has a pretty easy run in terms of ruckman as you start the year. I remember looking at it, I reckon the first 5 weeks, he doesn't take on too many of the best. So that's just something to think about. Ari, is Luke Ryan a good pick? Will he be a top 4 defender? I reckon he'll be top 6. He'll take a stack of kick-ins. I feel as if he hasn't been fit because he hasn't been playing, so I presume as much. I actually haven't really checked. I just presumed he was not available due to fitness. So Lloyd, probably have Daniel ahead of him. Yeah, I mean, he'll be top 6. I reckon we can be sure about that. So he'll be a good option. Leonardo, hey, Shorty, thoughts on McGrath over Simpkin? Nah, not for me, mate. I think probably just McGrath hasn't had a perfect preseason, and I'm just not sure. I mean, the way I see it, I see Simpkin as the best midfielder in North Melbourne's side. So that's the way I look at it. And, you look at probably Zach Merritt is maybe ahead of him. Maybe Dylan Shield is ahead of Andrew McGrath. Not too sure in terms of scoring, that is. So that's why I probably preference Simpkin. I think he's going to lead the North Melbourne midfield, and that includes when Cunnington's in the side. I think he'll average more than Cunnington. So maybe I'm just looking through Simpkin-coloured glasses, but I am an enormous fan. Harneet, how you going, mate? Good. I don't reckon I've seen a question from you today, so good to have you on board. Thoughts on Josh Kelly as a pick? He almost played 17 games last year if it wasn't for a teammate landing on his leg. Yeah, well, that's a good point. Like the main thing people say about Josh Kelly is, he never plays all the games. Well, yeah, that's true, but a shockingly unlucky incident last year, which you point out nicely there. And the bloke's a superstar. The thing that we can take refuge is when he plays, he scores, and he's had a stellar preseason. I know he's been a bit injury prone, but how many times do we hear guys have their best career of the best year of their career, and blokes interview them halfway through the year, like, what's the difference, mate? I had an amazing preseason. It's the first full oh, Jesus Christ, nearly knocked the whole thing over. So it's the first full preseason I've done in years. So he's fit and firing. He's ready to go. I'd be shocked if he didn't average at least 115. He's one of the few guys who could average 120 as well. I nearly toppled my laptop over. Spooky Mookie's back. What combos out of Dunkley, Dusty, and Danger are we going with? Yeah, I'd be ranking them Danger, Dusty, Dunkley, quite simply. That one's pretty clear for me. Tynan, I'm just going Dunkley, 4 primos in defence, 5 in the midfield. Doesn't give me the money for another forward. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I like 5 mids being primos. I've only got the 3 primos in the back line. But yeah, there are a lot of good mid-price options, mate, in the forward line. So I'm pretty sure you will have utilised some of those, which is not a bad idea structure-wise. Yeah, thanks, Sam. Hopefully you got me question. And, yeah, thanks to everyone who's jumped on board. And thanks to everyone who's stuck around too. This has been great. Yeah, hopefully if you haven't stuck around for all of it, hopefully you can listen to some of it when I post it up later. Hopefully you can just chuck it on while you're doing some cooking or going for a drive. That's probably the good thing about these streams, is that you do it, and then it goes up, and people can sort of watch it whenever they like. So, yeah, really appreciate all the comments. Peppy, Isaac Heaney at F3. I think there's better options, mate. Again, it just looks as if the sense is that Heaney's going to play forward, or at least a fair chunk between both, and that's not really what we've been after. He's had an interrupted preseason. He's had a good month on the track, though. I just think there's better options. People have referenced Butters and Bolton, and I'd say at F3, they're probably better calls. If you're looking for some coin, then Jai Caldwell, good option. So, yeah. Brady, can you get away with not starting Neil and then having Steele, Oliver, McRae, Merritt, Kelly in your premiums? Yeah, for sure. Like, Neil's a superstar, but he's not like every team just has to have him. Like, he's expensive. He's going to be a good scorer, but so are those other guys you mentioned, So when you're rolling with that many, it obviously freeing up that extra 100,000 obviously helps you elsewhere. That's obviously why you've done it. So, no, it's not as if you just can't not go with him. So I get you thinking there. Finn's back. Steele and Merritt as M1 and M2. I probably wouldn't go with that personally. I think Steele's done it 1 year, and Merritt had a fantastic year last year, but he also, I don't know if he's like your super premium type. Like I said before, he could average 106, he could average 109, he could average 115 again, but when we think of superstars at M1 and M2, you normally go 110 minimum. So maybe just have a little tinker. Liney the G, thoughts on 6 primo defenders, lacking everywhere else. First year I've thought endlessly about this. Yeah, no need for 6, mate. No need for 6 defenders of a premium nature. We've got some great mid-price options. I think you should definitely have one of Clark or Young down there. And, there's always premiums on every line that drop in value. They cop an injury early in a game. They have a bit of a form slump. So you never want to start any line with all premiums because, it's pretty tough to pick the top 6. So, and you're going to miss out on some value as well. Like I said, there's always injuries. There's always guys who drop in value, and you like to pick those up. So leave yourself some wriggle room. Bleeding Blue, do you think it's risky picking Josh Kelly this season? Had a really good preseason. Nah, not risky at all, mate. Like I touched on him before, so hopefully you heard that. I reckon he's a superstar, and I think he's in for one of his best years. So, no, definitely no risk for mine. Napple, thoughts on this back line? Laird, Short, Daniel, Clark, Sharp, Highmore, Kazitsky. Clark. Yeah, I can't fault that. I mean, just on a personal note, like I really like Hayden Young. I think he deserves a spot, but you've gone Clark, so that's fair enough. That looks so good. So I like the 3 premium structure, 1 mid-pricer and round it out. 3. Yeah, you've probably got another rookie in there somewhere, I'm guessing. But yeah, anyway, that looks good. Thanks, boys. Nice. Cripps over Merritt or Steele? Yep, I would. I'm a huge Cripps fan. He offers a bit of value this year as well. So, yeah, I would. Marcus, how you doing, mate? Shorty, what are you saying? I am so nervous to have Josh Kelly and Green together. I want Josh Kelly and Luke Davies-Uniacke, but only have 900 budget remaining. Look, all I could say is don't be worried about starting 2 mids from the same team. I mean, if you get to 3 mids in the same team, you might start to think about it. But 2's fine, particularly of that nature. A mid-price guy and a premium, that's all right. A lot of people will have Taranto and Kelly or Taranto and Green or Green and Kelly. They all select themselves on their own merit. They play for the same team, so be it. That's all right. I many times over the journey have picked 2 mids from the same club, and it works out all right if they both are good selections on their own merit, and I think they both are. Ross, how you going, mate? Thanks for joining us. Good show, Shorty. Thanks, mate. I started with Grundy and the young bomber, but I am worried about getting Gawn in later, even if he drops 50K. Yeah, I mean, it's something I think about as well. One thing I will say with Gawn and the Melbourne situation is there's no Brown, there's no Wiedemann. You know, Gawn's been playing a little bit more forward. I think they're going to roll Luke Jackson and Gawn. I just wonder whether his scoring drops off slightly. And by drops off, I mean maybe he averages 120 instead of 135. So I'm not saying he's going to drop off a cliff, but it just comes down to a lot of people just want to set and forget, and it's exactly that. You pick him at the start, you don't have to worry about it. Gawn's body does concern me. I know the stats don't always say it, but I just feel like he's a guy that can always succumb to an injury at any moment. So I'm quite comfortable with picking him up. And you're right, he might drop 50K. I'm pretty optimistic that we'll be able to get him in the low 600s. And I'm optimistic that Draper can get to the mid 500s, so whether the stars align and it all works out nicely, we'll wait and see. But, it's a risk. It is 100% a risk. It really is. Blessed Day, thoughts on Alira at Port this year? Maybe a breakout year? Nah, I don't think so, mate. Nah, not for me. I don't think he's ever been a guy that's tickled my fancy in terms of a fantasy player. He'll have games where he delivers. I just don't think he's someone we really need to consider. I think there's better options. I hope he has a good year. I hope he, finds his feet at the new club. But, yeah, probably not for me. Kyrie, non-Supercoach related, but what players around the comp do you see having breakout years? Yeah, that's a tough one because, probably I'd need to really have a look at a few of the lists, but a lot of them are Supercoach related. Davies-Uniacke, he's definitely a guy. Probably Connor Rosie was one before. Cameron Rayner was one before the injuries as well. I think Adam Chera, he could really burst onto the scene. He's already shown some good signs. They're just a couple of names, but yeah, it's hard to think non-Supercoach when most of what I've thought about has been Supercoach. And but there's a few names, but I wouldn't mind doing a Q&A that's not so much Supercoach related as well. That could be a bit of fun. Maybe just chuck it on one night, Friday night football, crack a couple of cans. That could be quite entertaining. Where are we? Travis, thanks for the question, mate. Hi, Shorty. Thoughts on Dom Tyson as an M5? I was waiting for someone to ask this, and thanks for doing so. Real juicy, real interesting. Now, I talked about having multiple players in the one midfield. That's one thing that maybe just turned me off a touch with Tyson, because I had Simpkin, I have Powell, and I was thinking, gee, do you go Dom Tyson as well? I think he could be in for a really good year. All the talk is he had a fantastic preseason. He attended like upward of 55% centre bounces on the Pracky game. Yes, Cunnington comes back in, but he's like the older head now at North Melbourne after being sort of, for so much of his career, a lot of pressure on him being such a high draft pick, went to the Giants, now he's a Demon, now, you know. So he's now at North Melbourne, and I think we'll see one of probably his best career year. Maybe I think he averaged 94 not too long ago, but if you're that way inclined, I definitely understand. Maybe M6. Finn, g'day, Shorty. Just here to let you know, 342 out of 1,000 people have Jordan. Cheers, have a good night. Yeah. Jordan Clark is he's popular now. He's popular. Glenn, Shorty, have you seen Gawn's opening 6 weeks and Ruck opponents? Please find the coin to get Grundy to Gawn. I fear for your sanity. No, that's fair enough. I appreciate your opinion, and that's fine. It's just the way I've gone. It's just the way I've structured up. I definitely understand your thinking. I might have a look at it. You know, I could easily go Caldwell down to Danaher, Grundy up to Gawn. I could do that. And I'll have a look at those Ruck opponents. So I'll have a look at them. Dominic, hey, Shorty is Clive Rose. I'm just scared now. When you see names you don't know, and after the old business earlier, I'm just gonna leave that one alone, and hopefully I'm not offending anybody by doing so. But let's just rock and roll. The 9, big boy McAvoy, Ruck, defense forward, top 8 defender. I must admit, I was intrigued when I saw he's a defender option, and he's going to play Ruck, but we've just got so much good stuff going on. So many good options in the back line. Off the top of my head, like Daniel Laird, Lloyd, Ryan, Stewart, Williams, Short. There's 7 already, and I would have missed one. Mills. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to be a top 8 defender. Whoops. Sam's back. Yeah, the team's looking good. Just trying to nail down M5 going. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, nice. No, good. Well, yeah, no, I'm pretty comfortable with my team as well. Hopefully you saw my team video today, but no, it's going pretty good. I don't know, I feel a bit uneasy. You just do so much research, and now it's like, gee, I've got to make some actual calls, some final decisions. I don't know how you guys are feeling out there, but yeah, I've been a bit sort of tinkering for the sake of tinkering, and yeah, but they're pretty comfortable with my team. Spooky Shorty with the 9-inch going on a cheeky drive tonight. I can assure you the drive is just with a good mate. Yeah, that comment really did tickle the fancy, didn't it? But Marcus, Shorty, what midfielder do I get under 6'10" besides Powell? Hang on, what under 6'10" besides Powell? Well, there's heaps. Let's have a look. I mean, if you don't have Cripps is your guy. Let me just scroll. There's a 600 mark. Yeah, I was a big fan of Taylor Adams before he got injured. What did you say? 6'10". Yeah, I mean, probably. Yeah, there's not much there in that little bit, is there? I think if you're going to go all that way, you might even go down to a Taranto, to be honest, if you're going that far. Otherwise, maybe you can scrounge up 10 or 20K to get you to maybe one of those super premiums. But yeah, there's really not much in that 500 to 600K bracket. It's pretty crazy. Like, they're just a bunch of okay guys, guys that'll just average 104 or 107, you know what I mean? There's nothing too sexy about it. SuperCoach Jorg and Benno asks about CJ as well. He's got a bit of attention. Like, the best way, I summed it up a bit earlier in a bit more detail, but the quickest way to probably sum it up, he's in the price range of Jordan Clark and Hayden Young, and I prefer both of them. So that's probably as simple as I can chuck it. Ari, go for someone like Jordan Clark. Oh, yeah, I think you're replying to someone else. Josh is with me in the Simpkin camp. Absolutely loves him. Jeez. Corey, what do you think about Majak Dor as a forward pick? No, definitely not. No, I can only presume that's a legitimate question, but no, he's definitely not a selection for us. Also need a forward for F2 around 350K. Definitely be Caldwell for me, quite clearly. If you wanted to go a little bit south, you got Zeeble, you got Danaher, and then we start to get a fair bit cheaper. But Caldwell's your man around there. Definitely. Marcus, I've got Josh Kelly right now, and I'm in a pickle between Green or Luke Davies-Uniacke. They both are equally promising, aren't they? Luke Davies-Uniacke will probably get more opportunity around the stoppage. But Green's like 100K cheaper or something like that. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, I've got Tom Green. So, I'm a big fan of him. I have been for a while, but I can understand the headache. I can only slightly push you in the direction of Green, but I'm not going to go absolutely nuts against LDU because he's a super talent. He's had a ripper pre-season. Jono says, thoughts on Fife, Shorty? I'm not in love with that one. He's been so good for us for so long, but I think that constant threat of him potentially spending a whole quarter forward or a whole half, or maybe they just decide to play him forward, particularly with Walters out and Lob, just worries me even more. When the coach comes out and says we love the look of it when Fife's forward, that makes me go, Jesus Christ, you're killing me, mate. But I'd prefer some others. I mean, he showed what he can do. When he's pure mid, he's a freak. Just dominate. What was it, 10 clearances in the Pracky game? But, when you're picking premiums, one of the main things I look for is just a definitive position. No qualms about it. They're playing mid. So that's my main thing. Josh, non-AFL related, but what's your sexual... Just to clarify, going for a drive with my male friend that we are just mates. Come on, guys, come on. No, there's oh shit, I've lost it. Oh, yes, but no, thanks for your inquiry, Josh. He's gone from SuperCoach Q&A to really personal topics with Shorty. But, hey, maybe we'll break it open with the personal stuff over a couple of beers one time. I wouldn't mind doing that, actually. Just go Friday night footy or something. That'd be good. Austin, hey, Shorty, big fan. Thanks, mate. Was wondering what you thought about having Campbell at M5. My M1 to 4 is Oliver, McRae, Merritt, and Dusty. Oh, you got Dusty in the midfield. Interesting. Look, like I said, Campbell, the most reliable rookie in my eyes that we've got on offer, so I can only endorse him. You're perhaps leaving yourself a little tight with him at M5 just because, you're exposing a lot of rookies. Like, he can probably hold his own at M5, probably. He is a rookie. But then you got M6, M7, and M8 that could let you down. So I would try and beef it up, but I can only endorse Campbell as a selection. Baz Gaming, is Paddy Dow a good option? Just quite clearly, yeah, he is. He's going to get some good midfield minutes. Talented guy. I've been on him for a long time. And, get on him, in my opinion. AFL Amusement, back from the Storm Master Show. They obviously got up pretty comprehensively, I imagine. Doubt you'll read this, but I got there in the end, mate. I got there. So thanks for sticking around if you have. If not, I appreciate the question. Thoughts on McDonald as a pod? I reckon he's not a bad option. The only query you might have is that Zeebel's back there and, maybe a couple of playmakers, a couple of leaders down there. Do they dilute one another a touch? But I think McDonald, he's going to take a stack of kickouts. There's no reason he won't continue on the form of the back half of last year. And I think he's got a 3-figure average in him. Actually, he's a guy that when I've been reeling off defenders, I haven't mentioned. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. I rate him. He's just slipped my mind. So I'd envision him maybe not top 6, but he'll be knocking on the door. Definitely a top 8 or 10 defender with the capability of being a top 6 if he has another stellar year. His numbers towards the back end were crazy. Peppy asking my thoughts behind picking Draper. Well, look, hopefully you've heard my explanation. I won't bore you too long if you guys have already heard me say this, but I think he's a perfect stepping stone to get to Gawn. And I just think that his talent is extreme. He holds the number 1 ruck mantle at the Bombers clearly. And, I just think he's got the ability to average 90, maybe a bit more. Can take a mark. His follow-up work is really good. I just think he's ready to take that next step and in a big way. There's been a lot of talk about him for a long time. The Bombers, massive raps on him. So, I'm following suit. Glenn Morgan, how can a bloke called Shorty not have a short in his side? Yeah, true. That is true. Yes, me and Jaden, we do share the last name together. That is the origin of the last name or of my nickname. Shorty's SuperCoach has nothing to do with my height. Me and Jaden, no relation. And, but you're right. Caleb Daniel he'll have to do. Austin, what is your highest finish? Quite a while back, I was somewhere in the thousands. I've never finished top 1,000, so don't all switch off at once. But it's bloody tough to finish right up there. Particularly so now with so much media presence about the game, it's become tougher to be good. It only takes a mistake or two to fall behind the pack. But my highest finish is somewhere in the thousands. I can't remember exactly what. I remember one round I finished 74th. So that's my best round finish. And that was super exciting. But hopefully top 1,000 finish this year. But probably pre-season is probably my favourite bit about it. I love doing the research. I love doing the channel. I love talking to people about it. And then, half the time I just get pissed off when the season rolls around when I see blokes that I've spent so much time on just turn to shit. But we all get that. Benny, thoughts on Ollie Wines? I touched on him earlier. It's pretty clear no. I just don't think he's ever shown the ceiling. And I don't see that changing now. His ball use probably just holds him back. Baz reckons Joe Danaher for All-Australian. It's hard to argue. Marcus, any mid on the game besides Neil, McRae, Oliver? Look, you mentioned Adams there in 1% of sides. And look, if he's going round 1, he's not the worst point of difference. I know you probably couldn't because of all those soft tissue issues and he's had another one, but he could definitely be a bloke who averages 110, He was about that last year, wasn't he? He was 109. So, Brah says Heppel at 320K. Probably not, mate. His body is just so flimsy. And it's not like we're short for options around that price. You've got Green. We've got quite a few options south of that. If you want to have Clark or Dow in the midfield, or if you're a Dom Tyson fan, or if you want to spend a little bit extra coin and, go Jai Caldwell in the forward line, or, if you really want to up the ante, find 100K somewhere, you got Taranto. I don't think Heppel's the guy. Some people might be a Braden Sear fan as well, or Sire. I don't even know how to say it. I say it wrong every single time, I reckon. Yeah, good. All right. I reckon we'll rock and roll for another 25 minutes. I reckon I'll go to 10 o'clock. So probably if you're typing a question now, I doubt I'm going to get to it. All I can do is probably stress that, it really is first in, best dressed. We've had another ripping session tonight. So appreciate everyone who's jumped on board. If you're still with us, and 60-odd people still are, so thank you very much. If you've popped your head in and out, and or you're watching back, listening back over the live stream once it's been posted, thanks again. So, yeah, and I'll have heaps of content up too in the lead up to round one. Certainly won't be short on that, so appreciate it. Spooky's back. He's had plenty of questions today, so thanks, mate. Any thought on Rory Atkins if he gets game time at the Suns? Nah, I can't say I've really thought about him. Where's he at? 244. Nah, I don't think so. I mean, even if he gets some game time, I don't think so. I mean, if you're looking at that price, I mean, I'd just be saying Dom Tyson, to be honest. So, nah, it's probably a no from me, mate. John Hines says, thoughts on Riley O'Brien? I don't think so. I mean, O'Brien probably falls into that category of he's just a nice option. You know, I think in the ruck, you either have to go Gawn or Grundy or a cheaper option. I don't think there's much point going your O'Briens or maybe your Goldsteins or these types of blokes that are going to average between 95 and 105, but the fact is they're not making you much coin or enough coin, and they're not keepers because we want Gawn and Grundy by the end of the year. So there's not much point. You're either going value or you're going set and forget. So, he's a great player, not a great operator of the phone, but can ruck. Austin again. Thanks, mate. You're pumping the questions through. You have very bad luck in terms of injuries. Every video you post, someone in your team is injured or suspended about 3 hours after. I feel for you. It's so true, mate. I have had some stingy luck, haven't I? Hopefully I'm happy to cop some injuries at this time of the year. What pisses me off is when you have to burn a trade for it. So you're right, though. I have put up a few videos and Rayner goes down or Williams is going nuts. So, yeah, I'm glad you feel my pain. Peter, thoughts on Hunter Clark? He's a bit of the flavour of the month, isn't he, Hunter Clark? You've probably, most of you have heard my thoughts on him. If he's got that mid-roll, very good option. Is this now his time? Surely you'd think so. If he gets that, massive thumbs up. Do I think there are some better options out there? Yes, I do. I'm preferring to just play it safe with the back line. We've got so many reliable defenders, so I'm sticking with them. But, yeah, it's more of a structure thing. So I think he's a star. I've been a fan of him for a long time, but just hasn't made it to my side. Brett, hey, Shorty, apologies if this has been asked already, but are you worried about Gawn as a non-owner looking at the fixtures, his opponents in the first 6 weeks? So it could be huge. Yeah, that's a good point. And look, this is a good thing about doing these videos and stuff is you guys can give me some feedback too. I mean, I'm no bloody genius. I'm just a bloke who loves his SuperCoach. I'm not – what I say doesn't – it's not right all the time. I mean, some would argue it's not right often, but that's a good point. I mean, like a fella said before, I will have a look at his opponents, and I didn't realise that they were super weak. It sounds as if they are, and maybe I could go Gawn and Draper. I'm not going Gawn and Grundy. I'm set on that. But yeah, there's of course the worst thing that could happen is Gawn starts the season on fire and he's averaging 140 again, and I'm sitting here going, sick. How you going, Sammy Draper? You know what I mean? But so it's a balancing act. It really is. You give me something to think about now. Give me something to think about. Jackson Haitley at M6 from Pepe. Nah, not at all. Last I heard was he was playing Sample. So, No, definitely not by the sounds of things. Ben Derrick, what do you reckon of Dion Presti? I think he's a bit of a sneaky pick. He is a little bit sneaky, but the Tigers are such a balanced, even side. I don't know. I mean, he'll have a good year, I'm sure. I just don't know if he's got that ceiling. I know he had that amazing run in the back half of the year. What was a few years back, and averaged like 120 over the last 12 rounds or whatever it was. But I just don't feel the need to start him. I just think Richmond midfielders are a funny bunch. It's one day it's Martin, one day it's Prestia, one day it's Edwards, one day it's so-and-so, and you're like, Jesus, I guess that's why they're such a good side. Someone always steps up, and they're not really relying on any one individual. So I probably wouldn't rush to pick him. Placey, hey, Shorty, good to be back into it. Thanks, mate. Good to see you. Would it be better to have Caldwell at F2 or have an extra primo defender over Hayden Young? That would be that would give me 4 primos down back and only 1 up forward. Let me just digest that. Would it be better to have Caldwell at F2? I would probably preference having Caldwell at F2. I guess the debate is, you've named some really good players. You can mount a case for Caldwell, Stewart, and Young. I would probably like to have, put it this way, I think if you've got 3 premiums in your back line, I think that's sufficient. To have 1 premium in your forward line could be leaving you a little scarce. So if that helps, hopefully it does. But whichever way you roll those dice, you've got some good players. You've named them, and they all speak pretty highly to my ears. We got another one from Corey here. Once I straighten this up, would it be out of the realms having Butters F1? Yeah, that'd be too risky, mate. I think I know we're short and we're light in the forward line, but you can bank on Danger. You can bank on Dustin. Some people love Dunkley. Like, there isn't much, but there is something. So there's no need to cut it that fine, in my opinion. Matty Heath, what price do you reckon Clark and Hayden Young will reach? Yeah, I guess I can stare into the crystal ball. I'd be surprised if they didn't get to 400. Again, it can all come down to a run of scores. Back-to-back tons can do a hell of a lot of good for the price rise. But yeah, I'd be picking them with the thought that 350k is easily achievable. 400 is the expectation, and with a bit of luck, maybe more. But I guess we'll wait and see. Nick, hey Shorty, you think we should be starting Lloyd and Neil? Well, I've only got one, and it's definitely Neil. I think Neil's a great option. He's pre-season after a slow start. He looks good. Lloyd, I'm probably off. I was never on, but just with the knee tweak, yeah, I'm passing it by, to be honest. I just think if you're weighing up between those two, which one you maybe want to cut for a bit of coin, definitely cut Lloyd and keep Neil. Napa with the Orazio Fantasia. This bloke's a character. This bloke, I don't know who you are, mate, but you've thrown up some good stuff. When I have the Friday beers session, you better be along, mate. No one does that as good as BT, though, do they? Surely not. What do we got? Sammy McGregor. Got any chicks on the go, mate? Love the vids. Let's keep that hush, shall we? But do I have Tinder downloaded? Yes, I do. Do I enjoy a swipe? Yes, I do. Did I throw a super like around today? Yes, I did. So, Sammy, you're on the list as well, mate. I think when I have Friday night beers session and we crack a couple open, I want you fair and square, and we might talk a little bit more Tinder then, I think. Might keep it a little more PG for the minute, but this is out of water. But I enjoy when those questions come through. It's It's funny to see what you pricks come up with sometimes. Wes Stanley. At the moment, I've got 10 premiums, but I have Butters, Taranto, Phillips. Can't decide who to give the ask. Can you have all three, or a bit risky in your opinion? No, you can definitely have all three, mate, for sure. Particularly given two of those in the forward line, where I've encouraged taking a risk. So for sure. Put it this way: I've got Clark, Young, Simpkin, Green, and Caldwell. So you're probably Young and Clark, I don't think, are in that mid-price bracket. I think they're must-have guys. I know they're kind of mid-price, but I think they're just locks. So you could argue mine are, I've got Simpkin, I've got Green, I've got Caldwell. So, yeah. To answer your question, yeah, that's cool. That is fine. Oh, Sammy even launched that question twice. Nice. Oh, for God's sake, the amount of times I right-click instead of the bloody left-click. Bloody hopeless. Mitchell Harrison. Hey, mate. How are you? Hey, Shorty. Missed the first half hour. Thoughts on the best R3 pick? Also, what's your captain loophole plan? Cheers, mate. Love your work. Up the Catters. Thanks, mate. And, definitely go the Cats, and I appreciate your support once again. Definitely Paul Hunter for the R3 position. That's become clear now with the news on Ryder. And in terms of my captain loophole, there's probably not much of a plan at the moment, because it looks like we're going to have a playing R3. And I think the loophole will create itself. In previous years, we've had no good options for R3. So you just pick some schman at R3 who's 102K. There's your loophole. But this year, it looks like we'll have options at R3. So I wouldn't have a loophole early on. And I can't use Zach Williams because he plays in the first game of the year. So don't sacrifice, don't create a loophole and sacrifice someone who could make you money, because someone will get injured, a rookie will get dropped in the first 4 rounds. You can guarantee it. So your loophole will be created. So that's my plan. Probably won't have one early. I bloody want one because I love using the loophole. But, we'll see how we go. Matthew Albin, hey, Shorty, love your content. Thanks, mate. What do you think is the ideal structure for SuperCoach this year? Yeah, thanks for your feedback, mate. I appreciate the question. Well, I guess I can only speak to what I've done. I like speaking broadly. Bank your premiums in the back line, take your risks in the forward line, and spend the money in the midfield, because that's where so many guns are. And look, the ruck, I haven't gone set and forget in the ruck, but I totally understand why people do. In terms of an actual structure, I reckon 3 premiums in the back line, maybe a Clark, maybe a Young. I think probably 5 reliable players in the midfield, definitely 4 premiums, ideally 5. And then maybe a Green or a Taranto, or whichever way floats your boat. And then, if you set and forget in the ruck, well, you're probably going to have less primos in the forward line. If you maybe go a Draper, you might have 2 in the forward line like I do, Dusty and Danger. But roll your dice in the forward line, because there's not much bankability, Have a throw at the stumps with Caldwell, Danaher, Zeeble, Dow. If Butters takes your fancy, or Bolter or Phillips, I encourage taking the punt in the forward line. A lot more bankable stuff down back. Guts goes berserk. Thoughts on Dan Houston as a pod? Nah, I'm not a fan. I think he can definitely have some really big games, and I'm sure he will at times. But there's just better options. Just to, like I said before, bank those backmen. That's not the place for taking a risk like him, I don't think. Cade, how are you, mate? What's your thoughts on Stephen May? You think he'll play round 1? Well, what did he cop? He copped something, didn't he? All the word is that he'll be okay without having done a stack of research. But in terms of playing, he's probably a sneaky premium, to be fair. I had him in SuperCoach draft last year, and he was an absolute dream. Just intercepts all day long, takes the kick-ins. It's an unusual combo, intercepting tall and kick out. It's an unusual combo, and I definitely see him averaging in the 90s. It's hard to put a finger on exactly where. I'm not going to start with him, but I wouldn't be surprised if, he is a guy that does provide a nice point of difference. If we just roll down, I reckon we're down to our last 5 or so minutes of questions. I think I'll probably, wind it up, in that 5-2 mark, and we'll go for about a couple of hours, and then I'll wind this up in about 5 minutes. So, thanks to everyone who's jumped on board. Again, really appreciate it. So I'll try and smash out a few here in the last 5 minutes. Kyrie, I think we all need to be ready for these teams being released the night before the game. If rookies aren't named, everyone will panic and teams will be completely changed around. Yeah, it's a ripper point, and it's something I'm looking at doing a video on, because we could be left up shit creek without a paddle here. You really could, and that is why I've got a few more mid-priced guys in my side this year, because I think it's going to be harder to bank on rookies, and it's going to be harder to know. That you think a guy's in, you bank on him, Sunday comes around, you're like, what the fuck? He's not even named. And then you're screwed. So I think it's something I'm going to have to look into closer. But the best we can hope for is that coaches give an indication of who's playing. Some coaches like to come out before the teams are even named and say, yep, these guys are in. And let's just hope we get a stroke of luck, to be honest. That's what it's going to come down to. Let's plan as well as we can. And sometimes you will plan all you can and you just get some shit luck. It can happen in this game. Benny Baker, who's better value, Green, Taranto, or someone else under 460K? Look, I think Green and Taranto are equally good picks. The only difference is their coin. So that's pretty much why I have gone for Green. Having that extra $100,000 elsewhere is helpful. I see their scoring similar. Taranto's done it before, 3 figures. Green hasn't. There's pros and cons on each side, but the 100K, that is certainly tasty. Langers, how are you, mate? Robbo just showing his team on Foxtel. Scarp, yeah, I know. Doesn't he have Jeremy Cameron or something? Jeez. I'll tell you, there's so many of these blokes who write for the paper. I swear they put these teams together in 5 minutes. I remember when I was in high school and I used to, so-and-so's got his team out. Wow. I remember Kevin Sheedy used to write an article every bloody week. And I remember all pre-season he preached Roger Hayden or some shit. And I was like, huh? And Roger Hayden comes out and averages 80, just trash. And Kevin Sheedy's like, shit, credibility down the drain. But yeah, no, I'm not surprised, Langers. I'm not surprised. Cade, what's your thoughts on Caleb Sarong? I love him as a player, but just not for SuperCoach this year. He's in that, as I say, it's like dancing with your sister. It's pretty awkward. It's just not something I think we need to go for at this stage. Ryan says Butters a top 6 forward. He certainly mounts a pretty good case. I mean, I still think you've got the Fab 5. You've got Danger, you've got Dusty, you've got Dunkley, when Marshall is back and when Sidebottom is back. Those 5 guys, by round 14 or whatever, I think you'll want in your side. I think they're the clear standouts. So whether you upgrade to them or you start with them, it's up to you. Clearly a couple of blokes you won't because of the injury, but then who fills out that last spot as a top 6 or top 8? Butters is right up there. So, I definitely think I understand the merit behind it. Napple's back. Do you have one of Laird or Lloyd? Yeah, I have Laird. So I definitely think he's the preferred option out of those two. Kynan, thoughts on Jaden Short at D3? Hope you read this. Yeah, I got there in the nick of time, mate. So thanks, and I hope you've stuck around. Jaden Short at D3. Look, I've mentioned it before, and I'll do a bit of a breakdown on Jaden Short, I reckon, because he's a bit of a flavour of the month guy. Now, will he average 90 plus? Yes. Do I want to start with him? No. Basher Hooley wasn't there when he racked up 43. I feel like Jaden Short can have the clamps applied to him a little bit. But that's sort of just me being skeptical, really. What I do know is that I prefer, in terms of scoring, I prefer Lloyd, I prefer Laird, I prefer Daniel, I prefer Stewart, I prefer Zach Williams, if Callum Mills is fit. I went through it before. I'll probably have him as a definite top 8 defender, but I don't feel the need to start with him. It's one game. I know he averaged well last year. I'd love to see a bit more of a sample size of him and Hooley in the same team. And I'm going to break down those numbers last year, which I'll be interested to do. But it's not to totally disregard him. He's just not a guy I want to start with. Travis, thanks for answering these questions. Shorty, really appreciate. Oh, no worries, mate. I appreciate your questions. I really do. It's these live sessions will definitely be a regular. I'll do them weekly now. I probably can't believe it's taken me so long to jump on board, but I love the interaction. So thanks, guys, and I appreciate your comments. And if you're a subscriber, whether it's been the last couple of weeks or the last few years, I appreciate all your support. So thanks again. Corey, he's been smashing the questions. Good man. What do you think about Tom Atkins? I know he scored well, new role type of thing, but he's not one we should consider. There are better options, and there's, he could be switched forward at any moment. I know he's trained back and that sort of thing, but being a Cats fan is just too much instability, and I think he filled his boots a little bit in the preseason. So, Matt the Kid, what do you think of having Houston? Gosh, he's attracting some attention, but no, I've touched on it. Hopefully you heard me earlier, but it's a no from me. Last question or two here. I'll try and smash out these last 4. McRae or Lloyd? Definitely McRae for me. That was from DMAC. Brady, will you think of going Draper to Marshall depending on when he comes back? I'll probably cross that bridge when I get there. But yeah, it's a horses for courses. Ideally, I'll probably just go Draper to Gawn, but we'll just see how that unfolds. Matt the Kid's back again. I'm thinking of Matt Crouch. Thoughts? No, steer clear of Matt Crouch, in my opinion. Oh, now's not the time to lose where I'm at, is it? There we are. Can't pick Matty Crouch, sorry. Matthew Heath, love your work. Shorty, thanks, mate. Definitely here to stay from here on out. Oh, I love it, mate. No, good to have you on board. And yeah, thanks heaps for the questions. Josh, hey, Shorty, who would you say is the best looking AFL player? No homo. Well, I bumped into Paddy Cripps at Foodworks in Lawn the other day, and he's a striking figure, although he was with his missus, so who was also quite a striking figure. She took our photo, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't often get starstruck, but he's a huge unit. But yeah, maybe I've just got a man crush on Paddy, but who knows? I think we... Josh, you're an absolute menace, mate. You are a menace. Save this stuff. This is a PG Shorty session, I reckon we'll have maybe, I don't know what it'll be rated. It could be rated M. We'll see where it goes. We'll have one of those during the season, crack a couple of cans. And I'll tell you what, Josh, save a couple of those, mate, and we'll have a bit of fun with that. And last one, Marcus, Steele and Green or LDU and Adams? I would go Steele and Green. I'd probably just prefer Green over LDU. And the fact that Adams has had a bit of an injury-interrupted preseason, that probably settles it for me. And Mitchell, sorry I missed you there. Dom Tyson, I mentioned him earlier. Hopefully you get around to hearing that. Absolutely. I think he's an intriguing option. He's not in my side at the minute, but if you're that way inclined, I think he's in for a really good year. Napple, Friday night, I'll take the trip from Melbourne to wherever you are on the Great Ocean Road. Probably going to end up at bloody Wagga Wagga, but that's all good. I wish I lived on the Great Ocean Road, mate. I'm not far from it. Just a Geelong boy, on the closer side to Torquay, but Maybe one day I'll be living down the Great Ocean Road. But, mate, I'm all for it. I'm sure we'll go live one Friday night and we'll crack a couple of cans. Jim Beam's the choice, so look out for that. I think this could be a hit. So let's cut it there. Honestly, I could keep going for ages, but Watson is probably at the front. We'll just cruise around and talk some shit, I reckon. I'm having a party at mine on Saturday, actually. That's not an open house invite. No Corey Worthington sort of action here, but I think me and Watson might just plan out the beer pong tactics. But, yeah, thanks again, guys. We've smashed out a couple of hours. There's still 65 years on board, so that is awesome. Like I said on the other video, I'm stoked with the interest. I appreciate that you value my opinion enough to jump on board and ask me a question because, that means a lot. I hope you've been checking out all my videos. I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, please do. But if you have or haven't, as long as you watch my videos, that's the main thing. And a bit of interaction on the live session has been awesome. So that's what I was hoping for. I'm starting to see a few familiar names, starting to find out who the menaces are too on here. And don't mind the odd question that is along the risky line of thinking, spices things up. So keep those coming. And yeah, I'll be back pretty soon. Not sure what my next video will be. I'll have to do one probably, don't know. I'm working all day and then I'm straight into the gym and then straight into some drinks. So I don't know. I'll see when I get a chance. There might not be one on Friday, but I'll definitely be looking to do one soon. So I'll try and find the time to keep these videos rocking out on the daily. So thanks again for tuning in. It does mean a lot. I really appreciate it. It's been another great success. If I didn't get to your question, I'm really sorry about that. I'll just try to get to as many as I can. Hopefully I'll cover it off on, a few topics that you're interested in. And yeah, on the next one, which I'll hopefully do next week, I'll get to see my roster probably now. And yeah, we'll have a time and we'll do it all again right before the first bounce. Hopefully we can save a few sides. So thanks again. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.